Today, we have a really important lesson for your pronunciation. In particular, it's about the pronunciation of the ED in the simple past. So, this might sound basic, but it's advanced because all of my clients at every level, even the most fluent, there's still some disconnect with the nuance of pronouncing the simple past ED. And today I want to clarify it once and for all and give you the tools to be able to correct yourself, as well as some advanced pronunciation tips like connected speech. If we haven't met before, my name is Tanya Suarez, and I'm a communication coach specializing in helping non native speakers like you who want to communicate clearly and lead confidently in business in English. And of course, I have a freebie for you. Download this free masterclass. It is so good. It's about, I think, 40 to 50 minutes long. It will help you feel so much more confident about your pronunciation and introduce you to the magic of next level connected speech. So go to tanyasuarez.com/masterclass. Now the ED it's a little, right? It's two little letters, simple past. In terms of grammar, not a complicated thing. However, and let me know in the comments if you knew this already, there are three ways to pronounce it. And even as a native speaker, before I got into the teaching English sphere, I didn't even know that. So it's not something that we consciously learn this as native speakers in school. So as a non-native speaker, you have to go even deeper into the language. I always say that non-native speakers usually know English better than native speakers because you have to pay attention to these differences that we take for granted that we already know or that we just kind of learn in life as we go. But the confusion ends here. And in fact, you might not even know that you were confused. If you thought that the ED was always pronounced one way, then you didn't know you had a problem to solve. And that's why I'm here to let you know that these are those moments if you get frustrated thinking, I know I have an accent, I can hear that it's different than native speakers, but I don't understand why or how. And speaking like a native speaker is not the goal, or at least it doesn't have to be. If it's your goal, I respect that. But I like it because at the level or the people that I tend to work with do tend to be perfectionists. I tend to be a perfectionist. So there's something really cool about knowing. At least you know why the sound is different. At least you know why maybe somebody might make a face when you say a certain word. There are just certain things that you're doing that sometimes cause confusion. Sometimes it just sounds really cute. Sometimes it sounds like a different word. So this is where this kind of high-level pronunciation work can give you more confidence and allow you to speak with more clarity. So the first one is the classic ed. Now notice here that the classic pronunciation of the ed is more of a schwa sound. So you're not saying it's and you'll notice that when we go through the words. Now, here for the phonetic symbols, a lot of people find those intimidating. I used to find them intimidating. Honestly, I just thought it was really boring. But then the more I got into pronunciation training years ago, I started really becoming obsessed with them. It's not about memorizing or knowing what every symbol is. I like to use it as a tool to understand if there's a difference. At least if you go into the IPA, and I can share some of my favorite links with you in the notes later, and you put in the words, even if you don't know what the symbol is exactly, you can at least see like, oh, that letter looks different in these two words. So that's why it sounds a little different. So I find it gives you clarity that you can check yourself easily, or if you have a doubt, you can check it really quickly. Now let's start with started. So started. Notice here, it's not started. So we do have more of a flap T. So it's not a t, but started, started. And this is where the schwa kind of helps you keep the mouth shape that's necessary for a more accurate sound. So if you're going bring it here, started. And this is really helpful. If you're looking in the mirror as you're doing this with me, you can kind of guide yourself to make sure you're giving the parameters of where your mouth placement should be. Started. So it's not even started, started. It's smaller. All right. Now, what I always recommend when you're working on pronunciation, don't just focus on the word. Because what happens with American English, really any language, when you're focusing just on the word, sure, you're articulating, you're enunciating it correctly in that moment, but that's not a real life application of pronunciation. Once you have a word in a sentence, the message, the intention, the intonation, the connected speech, all of that impacts how that word sounds. So that's going to help you if you're using a resource like the one I always recommend, Youglish, then you're going to understand why it sounds a little different in context. When you're saying it, you'll be able to feel confident about your pronunciation in a way that will help you in real life because you're not a student anymore. You're an English speaker. And especially when you're using English for business, I even recommend, which you'll see today, create sentences that are relevant for you, create visualizations that help you find your voice in English and get the intonation that you need so that you can speak confidently without overthinking at work. Okay, so let's take a look at this one again. They started on Wednesday. So remember, I always recommend read a sentence 3 times. So the first time, okay, I get what it says. The second time, you're focusing on breathing and intonation. They started on Wednesday. So then you start realizing like, oh, okay, I hear some linking. Started started on. They started on Wednesday. And for Wednesday, I know it looks like Wednesday, but it's pronounced Wednesday, 2 syllables. Wednesday. So the S sounds like a Z. Now, the third time that you read the sentence, I want you to visualize. You're not reading it as much for perfection. You're thinking, okay, I'm at work. My team member is, or let's say like the CEO, you're the manager, is asking you about an update for the project. You want to sound confident, but you also want to sound casual. Your boss is asking you like, okay, what's the project update? Oh, they started on Wednesday. Do you see how, like, the whole instead of they started on Wednesday, which is technically correct, but you really want to feel more natural. So when you visualize that conversation, you're like, okay, I have to sound, oh, yeah, they started on Wednesday. You're not going to rush. You're not going to say it faster. Speaking faster does not make you sound more fluent. And that's one of the top misperceptions that I see at the fluency level. It's about connected speech and it's about confidence and intonation. The next one we have completed. Now, this one's also interesting because now that you're getting more comfortable with the IPA, you'll notice that it's not go, but completed. And it's actually 3 syllables. Forgot the little symbol. Pleaded. It's that, Americans, we love the flap T. So whereas with British English, you'll hear more of that aspirated sharp T. We take the air off and it's a little bit smoother. Sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging for you, but just try to relax your tongue. So instead of completed, completed. It's all right here. Completed. And make sure that for the M, your lips are touching. Completed. Okay. And remember, the reason I keep repeating it, it's not about perfection, it's about muscle memory. We're trying to activate, like really mindfully move our muscles so that you can check yourself in the mirror, compare yourself to me, make sure it's in the right space, make sure their lips are touching for the M, and that's going to help with clarity. But you've probably been mispronouncing some of these words for years, especially the next 2 sections. So it's going to take some time to get your mouth used to remembering how to do it in this more accurate way. All right. I need it completed today. So we're going to do it 3 times. And today, just we use that reduced sound today. All right. Second time, you know what it says. You're going to focus more on connected speech and rhythm. I need it completed today. So even for me, do you notice that when I'm reading it, I'm like having that reading cadence? So that's why we have to visualize for the third. So the third time, you are the director of your department. You are doing your Monday meetings and you're letting them know the updates for what needs to be done for the week. So you're going to speak clearly, confidently, and with a level of authority, but let's say your leadership style is you have authority, but you're also relatable. You're not like condescending is what I'm trying to say. All right. So we're going to practice. You're visualizing, you're talking to the team. We can add a little bit. Okay. So now let's talk about the project B. I need it completed today. So there you're like, okay, so I'm talking about a specific project. I just made up a name, Project B. So let's talk about the new project. I really need it completed today. So once I visualized, I created this made up sense of urgency and I modified it and I said, I really need it. So that's where you kind of start finding your voice and you think, okay, do I want to say I really need it? Maybe I want to create urgency, but I just want to keep it simple. I need it completed today. John, I want you to take the lead. This is where visualization is essential for that next level business English pronunciation. You are not studying to take a test. You are practicing to be a better speaker. That is a very different mindset. All right, now the second way that you pronounce the ED in English, it sometimes sounds like a T. T. And this is where I find that, again, most people that I coach, they're comfortable with the first one. There might be a little bit of awkwardness with like the flap T and stuff like that we worked on today. But a lot of people don't realize that there are two ways. Sometimes you might be pronouncing it correctly just because you're imitating native speakers, so it happens. But I want to create awareness and I want to teach you how to check it. So now you know when you look up a simple past tense verb and the phonetic symbol is a T, this is what they mean. Let's get some practice. Now for this one, I picked words that are high frequency. So with the previous example, I tried to also do like started as high frequency, completed, that's more business English. But the words I picked for this particular example are the ones that I hear mispronounced the most at all levels. So when you're practicing English, you want to make sure that you pick high frequency words. You are not trying to master all of American English. You need to find the words that you say a lot, that you say frequently, that you need for your daily English, and focus on those. That's going to give you the best return on your practice investment. Okay, so for liked. So you got the liked. Notice when you're practicing it perfectly, it's going to sound more aspirated, liked. But that's why we have to practice with examples. All right, so we're going to do it 3 times. The clients liked it. Okay, so there you've got the, but notice that once you put in an example, it's less aspirated because of the linking, because you've got the consonant sound like t, 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 and then the vowel sound in it. So that means we have linking, which is part of connected speech, which you'll learn in the free masterclass. If you're in my advanced pronunciation program, I have a 60-minute masterclass on this. I think it's number 6. I'm not sure what order it is, but go in there and do it. The practice is amazing. Okay, the clients liked it. So there, second time, we're focusing on being correct, getting more comfortable. But for the third time, visualize. Okay, so what are we talking about here? Let's say you are a director again, and you are meeting with other department heads and you're talking about the projects. Everyone's giving an update on their client work. It's your turn. Like, okay, so Tanya, what's going on with yours? Well, we have a really exciting update. The clients liked it, so we're moving forward. So you see how you and I imagine like, okay, what are they going to ask me? That helps me breathe because you're about to talk in front of, let's say, like 12 other people or however many. You want this to be positive and you want it to be confident. This is how you practice pronunciation. This is how you're going to optimize your practice. It's so good because I see it with my clients all the time. They're really good at the structured academic practice, but once you take it to this next level of real life practice, that's when they find their voice. That's when I can help them reach that magical level of fluency and authenticity and find that genuine connection that they can now have because their English is more natural. I want that for you. Okay, the next word, helped. Helped. So we've got the p, t, p, t. Those are 2 very aspirated sounds. There are certain linguistic backgrounds where you might be pronouncing, for example, Arabic, you might be pronouncing your P's like B's. Really a lot of languages in that area. If you're Persian, let's see, Spanish speakers, For Spanish speakers, I want you to really focus on finishing the sound. Connected speech really helps. So if you're saying helbed, helbed, that's the kind of mispronunciation that causes confusion. There's sometimes or some words where you mispronounce, but it's still understandable. This is one of those where it really is important to master those sounds a little bit more. So help, helped, helped. Exaggerated. Remember, we're trying to enhance the muscle memory. It's not going to sound like that when you're using it in real life, and we're going to do more practice for examples, but you want to start activating that mindful muscle memory. So exaggerated, helped. Good. All right. Now for the example, she helped us yesterday. Okay. So the first time you're getting familiar with it, you're activating that exaggerated muscle memory practice. Second time, she helped us yesterday. So there you realize like, oh, okay, so helped. But because of the linking, it's not aspirated because it has to link to because we have the consonant sound t followed by a vowel sound So that means that we can link. Those are the linking rules. She helped us, she helped us yesterday. And here, if you're saying yesterday, soften it up, open up your teeth a little bit. So it's not je, but yesterday. Good. And now for the third time, visualization. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're pausing it and you're practicing every single time with me. So she helped us yesterday. Okay, the third time, let's say you're talking to a colleague and they want to know, they had referred you to a friend of theirs to help you with a question that you had about a project for your team. So like, oh, like was Molly able to help you? Yeah, she helped us yesterday. Thank you for the referral. So you see, like at this point, I'm visualizing I'm walking with my colleague. It's very casual. It's not going to be overly formal. The body language relaxed. Yeah, she helped us yesterday. Thank you so much for the referral. So then you're even able to test yourself of, do you know what else to say in that situation? Thank you for the referral. Thank you for connecting us. So that's going to help you, again, be more natural. Visualization on step 3 is everything. Next one, looked. So if you're saying looked, that's another mispronunciation that is going to cause some confusion because it's so different than how we actually pronounce it. So it's not lu. So notice my lips. If you're saying lu, kind of like another word you might be mispronouncing, book. Buh. Your lips are further back. Book, look. So not lu, looked. So this is where if you don't know why you sound different, you're like, I know, I think I'm doing the right sound. Why does it sound different than when they say it? It's the lip placement. Sometimes it's the tongue. Sometimes it's how much of your mouth is moving. For this one, your lips are probably too far out. Bring them back. No kissy face. Looked. So we have the looked. So you should feel it here. Looked. Exaggerate it. It's not going to sound exactly like that in real life, but you want to activate that muscle memory. All right. For the example, 3 times. The first time, he looked at it already. So then you're like, oh, okay, that was kind of awkward. Okay, I guess there's some linking there. Looked at it, at it. So this is where there are so many flap T's. And I know that that can be kind of a challenging sound. So you're going to relax, try your best. And this is why connected speech is so important because here, looked at it already, all of those link. That's when you think like, wow, when native speakers say it, like it just sounds like one big word. It's not because they're speaking faster. Some people might be, but in general, it's not because they're speaking faster. It's because of the linking. Everything sounds like one word, but you'll know the rules. You'll be able to apply it yourself. And the thing about connected speech is you should be able to do it quickly or slowly. So it doesn't impact the speed, but it does have a positive impact on the fluency, the fluidity, and the perceived correctness. All right, let's try again. He looked at it already. Okay, so now I'm playing around with emphasis. And when you emphasize different words, it does change the connected speech. It changes the pattern. So now we're going to visualize. All right, so who am I talking to here? He looked at it already. Let's see. Here, your manager is asking you if the graphic designer has already approved the design for the project that you're leading. So so he's asking for an update. You want to be confident. You've got things under control because you're the team lead. Yeah, he looked at it already. It's all good to go. So you see how here that this will be a happy thing. It's a happy update. My face is relaxed, it's confident, but it's also my personality is very smiley, so I'm going to smile a little bit. If you're not a smiley person, you don't have to, but you can use tone to convey good news. Like, yeah, he looked at it already and we're good to go. Now, conversely, let's practice bad news. What if you did this, but it's not good to go? So you would have to change I wouldn't be like, he looked at it already and he hated it. That wouldn't make sense, right? So let's practice bad news. He looked at it already. He has some changes. So I should hear from him tomorrow. It's not bad news, but it's not the best news, but you're going to still convey it with confidence. And you want to make sure that you're not saying it apologetically. Like, he looked at it already, but we're not going to be able to get it until Wednesday. Like, no, you're the team lead. You've got it under control. He looked at it already. He wants to make some changes. So we're going to move forward on Wednesday instead. So this is where that leadership tone comes in. That's where your business English really is where you're going to optimize it. How can you be your most confident self, whether it's good news or bad news? And this is all from practicing one little sound. I never want you to just focus on one little thing anymore. This is a holistic approach, but because it gives you better results faster. So this is the kind of practice I want for you. Now, the third and last way that you can pronounce the ED for the simple past in English is D. It's just going to sound like a D, so there's no sound. For example, optimized. Optimized. All right, so if you're saying optimized, that's where it's going to sound. First of all, it's just a lot harder to pronounce, so this is going to actually be easier once you practice it. So it's not O, but not to opt. So the two I's, if you look at the IPA, they're so different. One I is a schwa, the other one is an I sound. So this is where even if you don't know what the IPA symbols are, you can at least use it as a tool to know if the letters are different. Okay. Optimized. Make sure there's a vibration for the Z. Optimized. Good. All right, let's practice 3 times. We optimized it. Okay, so you're like, okay, we've got the duh at the end of optimized. We have the vowel sound I for it, so there can be some linking. All right, second time. We optimized it. Great. Now that's correct, but it's not natural. I sound like a robot. So the third time we're going to visualize. Let's see here. You're talking to, you're the president of the company. You have a meeting with a really important multi-million-dollar client, and you're telling them what you did to their process that you've been hired to consult on or to work on. Okay, so this is good news, right? You're going to tell them what you did. All right, so now we're going to, we're going to do it a couple of times because I want you to play around with intonation. So you're giving good news. It's kind of an intimidating scenario, but you're confident because that's what they hired you for. Yeah, we optimized it. We optimized it. We optimized it. So play around with the intonation because every intonation change can change the delivery and like kind of the perception of the message. So you're going to find which one sounds more like you and which one is the best for the message you're trying to convey. So we optimize. In fact, you can even add some stuff. You're like, okay, talking to the client. I know that they like more deep. Remember, for American English, bottom line, you want to always answer the question directly. You want to give the update in the most concise way possible and then go into detail. I'll have to do a whole nother live session about that one because it's really important. A lot of cultures will do the opposite. You do the details first and then the main takeaway. That is really frustrating and it's going to hurt your communication if you're doing that for American business. So you're going to get to the point and then you can give details. Yes, we optimized it. We're really excited about the results. Let me tell you about the three main changes. All right. So notice how it was a really confident voice. You answer, you give them what they need first, and then you offer updates. And notice how even with that, I Americans, especially for business, we talk like bullet points. So that's the way I like to think of it to help you perceive it. Other languages I like to think of as paragraphs. Some cultures speak in novels, and it's beautiful. Americans, we speak in bullet points. It's the points. Even with friends, it's like, what did you do on the weekend? And it's like main point. And then if there's time or a desire to know more, then you can go into more details. Understanding that will help you process what English you need and deliver it in a way that's most effective. All right, and streamlined. So here, if you're saying streamlined, now you know why that might sound a little off or why it sounds different when you hear other people say it. It's because it's not lined, but lined. Make sure you're doing the N. Streamlined. Streamlined. Okay. And notice when I'm doing this, make sure you're checking yourself. Look in the mirror, record yourself. And this will help you make sure that your lips aren't overextended. It'll make sure that your jaw drops when it needs to, especially not in this word, but with the schwa. That's really important. Okay. For the example, 3 times we streamlined the process. Okay. So here, there's really not that much connected speech because of they're all ending and starting in consonants. So we streamlined the process. Okay, make sure for we streamlined the process. If you're saying the process, it's going to sound like a D. Your tip of your tongue comes out. The. Okay, now the third time, let's visualize. You know what? Let's go back to that visualization. We can reuse our visualizations. Let's say you are representing your company or the president of the company. You're in the meeting with the client. Last time I visualized myself in a conference room. This time, let's visualize a Zoom meeting and it's just you with the project lead of the other company that's checking in on what you're doing for them. Okay, so posture. So what are the updates? Well, we streamlined the process. You should see optimization in this, and this point. So here you're delivering, you're confident, you're clear. If you speak English really fast, you're going to see confusion, even if your pronunciation is correct, but you're still kind of holding on to, if I speak faster, they'll think my English is better than it is. Or maybe you're a fast speaker in your native language. I'm telling you, slow down. Clarity. Your mouth needs space for the English muscle movements required for the sounds. So we're streamlining the process, and this is what you're going to do. It doesn't matter if it's correct. It's not clear. So take your time. It also impacts their trust in you. If you're constantly speaking fast and they can't understand you or it causes them to feel anxious, you're going to create a sense of doubt. They can't trust you. They might doubt working with you if they can't understand your updates. And I never want your English to hurt your business, to hurt your opportunities. So I'm telling you this because I care. Open your mouth. I would say slow down, but that never works because anytime people hear slow down, you get defensive or it's easy to forget. So just open your mouth more. That's going to create a speech that's more clear. We streamlined the process. So what are the updates this week? Oh, great. So we streamlined the process. We worked on point A, B, and C. So much better. So this is how you're able to take your pronunciation work and make it work for you. There is no point in obsessing over one word if when you're having the conversation, when you're giving a presentation, you're still not understood. So this is the technique that you can use to be able to optimize your practice, where this is why I tell all my clients and you, 1 minute a day, whether it's reading one sentence 3 times or reading out loud for 1 minute, when you implement these strategies, 1 minute will give you more growth than 1 hour. Because realistically, 1 hour a day is not feasible. It's not sustainable. 1 minute a day is very sustainable. When you have that consistent, mindful practice, the results are amazing. So I'm really glad that this was helpful to you. Make sure to let me know in the comments what other grammar or pronunciation lessons I can create for you. Next week, I'm working on the conditionals. So make sure you're back in for that one. If there are any other topics that you're interested in, let me know so that I can create lessons that help you feel more confident and speak clearly. And remember to download the free masterclass. This is a great opportunity for you not only to get a preview of what you would learn in my pronunciation program, which is really in-depth, high-level, advanced American pronunciation. It includes live lessons with me once a month, but it also helps you get immediate results with the letter R, the letter TH, and connected speech. And also a lot of the techniques that I taught you today, I go more in depth in this masterclass so you can really understand how to optimize your practice. Thank you so much for joining me for today's lesson. And now I get to check the comments. Okay, so pronunciation is kind of a hassle. So, okay, so this is really interesting. And thank you for sharing this and being open. When the mindset is really important, because when you already go into pronunciation work thinking like, oh, this is annoying, or as you put it so beautifully, kind of a hassle, you're going into it almost defensively. The energy that you're bringing to the practice is negative. And I understand because you've probably had some frustrating experiences before. And I know that you and I have talked about in previous sessions that you feel like you've plateaued. So from today forward, start every practice with breath work and addressing your mindset. Think, I'm excited to get really good at this one thing today. For example, today, instead of when you're watching this video, which I recommend watch it again, if you're watching it and thinking like, oh, I didn't know that the ED was 3 different ways. I've been mispronouncing it my whole life. How embarrassing. We're going to let that go. Your English got you really far. So instead, I want you to celebrate of like, whew, thank goodness people understood me before. Now I know something I didn't know, and I can feel so much more confident about this, and I know how to check it. So then when you're in that gratitude, the attitude of gratitude, or you're celebrating your win and then celebrating a future win, from a cognitive perspective, from a learning perspective, it helps with retention. It optimizes your learning experience. And honestly, it makes English more fun. At this point, if you've had any negative experiences with English, we're going to start over or start a new chapter. I want you to connect English with calm confidence and with curiosity. Because when you're curious, you're excited to learn whatever you learn. If you're defensive, if you're judgmental, if you feel shame, I wouldn't want to study either. So thank you for sharing that. And yes, you're definitely going to be able to pull it off, but do tiny things. Nothing will help you more at this point than starting this next level practice by reading out loud 1 minute a day and or doing one sentence 3 times. Start with that. Most of the time when I tell my clients that at first, they get defended like, no, I'm willing to practice English an hour a day. I'm like, I get it. And that's beautiful. But I want you to do 1 minute every day for the rest of your life. So chill out. Trust the process. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know what I'm telling you. And when you have time to do more, like do an hour or 30 minutes or whatever, great. But that's not going to be your standard. So try these micro habits and do habit stacking. For example, if you drink coffee every day, as I do, every time you're waiting for your coffee while it's dripping, read a sentence out loud 3 times. Because you'll never forget to make your coffee. So that means you'll never forget to do your English practice. And there's no pressure. So when you habit stack, it's a really interesting way to hold yourself accountable. Thank you so much for joining me and have a beautiful day.